Maya Rodriguez opened her eyes slowly. Her head hurt badly and her mouth felt dry like sand. The cold metal floor pressed against her cheek as she tried to remember what happened. The last thing she could recall was the bright flash of alien weapons hitting her squad's transport ship near the edge of human space. She sat up carefully and looked around. The room was small and dark with metal walls that hummed softly. Dozens of other humans sat or lay on the floor around her. Some were awake and staring at nothing. Others still slept, or maybe they were hurt too badly to wake up. "You're finally awake," said a voice next to her. Maya turned to see a man in his 40s with gray hair and tired eyes. "I'm Dr. Carl Weber. I was on a research ship when they got us." "Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez," she replied quietly. "Earth Defense Corps. How long have I been out?" 3 days, maybe 4. "Hard to tell in here. They don't give us much light or food." Carl pointed to a small slot in the wall where thin bowls of gray liquid appeared twice a day. "That's all we get." Maya stood up and walked to the wall. Through a small window, she could see a huge space filled with cages just like theirs. Thousands of different creatures were trapped inside. Some looked almost human, but with different colored skin or extra arms. Others were so strange she couldn't understand what she was seeing. "Where are we?" she asked. "Some kind of slave market," Carl answered. "The guards are insects that walk on 2 legs. They speak a language I don't know, but I've seen enough to understand what's happening here. They're selling us." Maya felt sick. She had heard stories about humans disappearing near the outer colonies, but Earth Command said they were just rumors. Now she knew the truth was much worse than anyone imagined. A loud sound came from outside their cage. The door opened and 3 tall insect creatures walked in. They wore metal armor and carried weapons that glowed with blue energy. Their faces looked like giant ants, but with 4 eyes instead of 2. One of the creatures made clicking sounds that somehow Maya could understand. The words appeared in her mind like magic. "Food time for the humans. Eat and stay healthy. Tomorrow you go to the auction block." They pushed bowls of the gray liquid through slots in the wall. Maya picked up a bowl and smelled it. It had no smell at all, but when she tasted it, she found it wasn't terrible, just bland like eating nothing. "What's the auction block?" she asked Carl. "Where they sell us," he said sadly. "I've watched through the window. Different alien species come to buy slaves. They make the prisoners stand on a platform while buyers look at them and decide how much to pay." Maya felt anger building inside her chest. She was a soldier trained to fight and protect people. Now she was trapped like an animal waiting to be sold. She walked back to the window and studied the layout of the building. The place was huge with hundreds of levels filled with cages. Guards walked on metal bridges between the levels. She could see other areas where aliens in fancy clothes looked at different groups of prisoners. Some buyers had tentacles instead of arms. Others floated in the air without legs. "There," Carl pointed to a raised platform in the center of the building. "That's where they'll take us tomorrow." Maya watched as a group of tall blue creatures were led onto the platform. An alien that looked like a walking tree examined them carefully. It touched their arms and looked at their teeth like they were horses. After a few minutes, the tree creature made some kind of signal and the blue prisoners were led away. "How many humans have you seen sold?" Maya asked. "Too many," Carl replied. "Dozens every day. They seem to like us because we can learn fast and work in different environments. I heard one guard say humans are very popular with buyers." Night came and the lights in the building dimmed. Maya lay on the cold floor but couldn't sleep. She thought about her squad and wondered if any of them survived the attack. She thought about Earth and her family who probably didn't know what happened to her. But mostly she thought about escape. There had to be a way out of this place. She just needed to find it. Early the next morning, the guards came back. This time they had more weapons and looked more serious. "Auction day for Group 7, the lead guard announced. "All humans come with us now." Maya and the others were forced to stand in a line. Metal collars were put around their necks. When one man tried to pull his collar off, blue electricity shot through his body and he fell down screaming. "Don't fight the collars," Carl whispered. "They'll hurt you badly." They were led through long metal hallways filled with other prisoner groups. Maya saw creatures she had never imagined. Some had scales like fish. Others looked like they were made of rock. All of them had the same look of fear and hopelessness. The auction hall was bigger than Maya expected. Hundreds of alien buyers sat in seats that rose up like a stadium. The noise was incredible as different species made their own sounds to communicate. Maya's group was pushed into a holding area next to the auction platform. Through the bars, she could see the current group being sold. 3 humans stood on the platform while a creature that looked like a giant spider examined them. Excellent specimens from the Sol system, announced a voice that everyone could understand. Strong, healthy workers, perfect for mining operations or factory work. Bidding starts at 5,000 credits. Different aliens raised hands or tentacles or whatever they used to signal. The price went up quickly. Maya watched in horror as her fellow humans were sold to the highest bidder and led away in chains. Next group, the announcer called. 12 prime humans, including military personnel. The guards opened the holding area door. Maya felt the collar pushing her forward toward the platform. As she walked up the steps, she looked out at the crowd of alien buyers. But something caught her eye in the back of the hall. A figure stood in the shadows wearing clothes that looked almost human. The figure watched her carefully and she thought she saw him nod slightly. Maya stepped onto the auction platform with the others. The bright lights made it hard to see anything beyond the first few rows of buyers. The announcer began describing their group to the crowd. "Who will start the bidding for these fine human specimens?" the voice asked. Maya closed her eyes and tried to stay calm. Whatever happened next, she would not give up hope. Somewhere in this terrible place, there might still be a chance to fight back. Jake Morrison stood in the shadows at the back of the auction hall. His dark skin helped him blend in with the dim lighting, and his clothes looked like those worn by traders from the outer systems. Nobody paid attention to one more figure in the crowd of buyers. He had been planning this moment for weeks. The Iron Eagle sat hidden in the asteroid field outside the station with its engines ready and weapons charged. Jake had spent months tracking the slave routes and studying this particular auction house. The human woman on the platform caught his attention immediately. Unlike the others who looked beaten and afraid, she stood straight and alert. Her eyes moved constantly, studying the room and the guards. Jake recognized the look of a soldier who hadn't given up fighting. "Bidding starts at 8,000 credits for the group," the announcer said. Several aliens raised their hands or made signals. Jake moved closer through the crowd. He wore a small device on his belt that looked like a normal trader's tool, but was actually a remote control. Hidden throughout the building were tiny charges he had placed during the past 3 days while pretending to be a buyer. The bidding continued. 12,000 credits, the announcer called. "Do I hear 15,000? A creature that looked like a walking octopus raised several tentacles. 15,000 from buyer 73. Jake reached the front section of the audience. He could see the woman clearly now. She was scanning the crowd, and for a moment their eyes met. He gave a tiny nod and saw her tense slightly, as if she understood something was about to happen. 20,000 credits, called another buyer. Jake checked his watch. The shift change for the guards would happen in 30 seconds. That was when the security would be weakest. He put his hand on the remote control. "Going. Once at 20,000, the announcer said. Jake counted down in his head. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He pressed the button. The lights went out instantly as electromagnetic pulses destroyed the station's main power grid. Emergency lighting flickered on, but most of the building was now dark. Alien voices started shouting in panic and confusion. Jake pulled out his energy pistol and fired at the 2 guards closest to the auction platform. The blue beams hit them before they could react, and they collapsed. More guards were running toward the platform, but they couldn't see clearly in the dim light. He jumped onto the platform where the humans stood frozen with shock. "Anyone who wants to live, follow me right now," he shouted over the noise. The woman who had caught his attention stepped forward. "Who are you?" "Someone who's here to get you out," Jake replied as he pulled out a small cutting tool. The energy blade sliced through her collar in seconds. "Can you fight?" "Yes," she said simply. Jake handed her the energy pistol from one of the fallen guards. "Then help me free the others." Maya grabbed the weapon and immediately started cutting the collars off the other humans. Jake worked on the ones at the far end of the platform. Around them, the auction hall was chaos as alien buyers tried to escape and guards tried to restore order. "This way," Jake called when everyone was free. He led them toward a side exit he had scouted earlier. More guards appeared, blocking their path. Jake fired his weapon while Maya covered their retreat. The other humans followed close behind as they fought their way through the corridor. "There's too many of them," Maya shouted as more guards arrived. Jake smiled grimly. "Not for long." He pressed another button on his remote. Explosions echoed throughout the building as more charges destroyed key support structures. Parts of the ceiling began to collapse and the guards had to take cover. Jake and his group ran through the confusion toward the docking bays. They reached a transport pod that Jake had prepared earlier. It was small but fast and could carry all 12 of them. "Get in," he ordered as he started the engines. Maya was the last to board. As the pod lifted off, she could see the auction building below them. Fires burned in several sections and pieces of debris floated away from the damaged structure. "The other prisoners," she said. "We left them behind." "I can't save everyone today," Jake replied as he piloted them away from the station. But this is just the beginning. Alarms were sounding across the entire facility. Jake could see security ships launching from other docking bays to pursue them. The transport pod wasn't armed and couldn't fight, but it was much faster than the heavy security vessels. They flew through the inner part of the station's docking area, where hundreds of ships were parked. Jake weaved between the larger vessels, using them as cover. Laser beams flashed past them as the security ships tried to get a clear shot. "There," Maya pointed ahead. "That ship is powering up engines." Jake looked where she was pointing and saw a sleek fighter craft that was clearly not part of the station's security. It was painted black with Earth military markings and looked like it had been modified with alien technology. "That's my ride," Jake said with satisfaction. The Iron Eagle was exactly where he had left it. As they approached the larger ship, its cargo bay doors opened automatically. Jake flew the transport pod inside and landed with practiced skill. "Everyone out," he called as the bay doors closed behind them. "We need to get moving before they figure out which ship we're on." Maya and the others followed Jake through the ship's corridors to the bridge. The Iron Eagle was unlike any human ship she had ever seen. The design was clearly Earth-based, but it had been heavily modified with alien equipment and weapons. Jake slid into the pilot's chair and began the launch sequence. "Strap yourselves in. This might get rough." Through the main view screen, Maya could see they were still inside the asteroid field surrounding the slave market station. Dozens of security ships were now searching among the rocks looking for them. "Can we fight our way out?" she asked. "We don't need to fight," Jake replied as he engaged the engines. "We just need to be smarter than they are." The Iron Eagle began moving through the asteroid field at high speed. Jake piloted with incredible skill, threading the ship between rocks that seemed too close together. The security ships couldn't match his flying and several crashed into asteroids trying to follow. "How do you know how to fly like this?" Maya asked. "I used to pilot Apache helicopters for Earth defense," Jake answered without taking his eyes off the controls. "Same principles, different environment." They reached the edge of the asteroid field and Jake engaged the faster-than-light engines. The stars stretched into lines as they jumped away from the slave market and its pursuing ships. Only when they were safely in hyperspace did Jake turn around to look at his passengers. "Welcome aboard the Iron Eagle. I'm Captain Jake Morrison and you're all now members of the Human Resistance." Maya stepped forward. "Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez, Earth Defense Corps. What resistance?" Jake smiled for the first time since the rescue began. "The one that's going to make sure no more humans end up on auction blocks. We're going to hit them so hard they'll wish they never heard of Earth." Carl spoke up from the back of the group. "How many of us are there?" "More than you might think," Jake replied. "And after today we'll have even more. Word travels fast out here and what we just did is going to inspire a lot of people." Maya looked around at the other rescued humans. They still looked scared and confused, but there was something else in their eyes now. "Hope. Where are we going?" she asked. Jake turned back to his controls and adjusted their course. "Somewhere safe where we can plan our next move. The real fight is just beginning." The Iron Eagle dropped out of hyperspace near what looked like empty space. Maya stared out the view screen but saw only darkness and distant stars. "Where are we?" she asked. Jake worked at his control panel and suddenly a massive asteroid appeared in front of them. It had been completely invisible until he activated some kind of scanning system. "Welcome to Haven Station," he said as docking lights began to glow on the rock's surface. The asteroid was hollow inside with a large bay that could hold dozens of ships. As they flew through the entrance, Maya saw that this was a real military base. Human fighters sat in neat rows along the walls. People in military uniforms worked on equipment and weapons. "How long has this place existed?" Maya asked as Jake landed the Iron Eagle. "About 2 years," Jake replied. "We built it after the consortium started taking larger numbers of our people. Earth Command refuses to believe the slavery problem is real, so we had to handle it ourselves." A woman in a Marine uniform was waiting for them as they left the ship. She had short black hair and the bearing of someone used to command. "Jake, you crazy fool," she said with a grin. "I can't believe you actually pulled it off." "Maya, this is Commander Kate Sullivan," Jake said. "She runs this operation." "Kate, meet Lieutenant Maya Rodriguez. She was the one I told you about." Kate shook Maya's hand firmly. Good to have you aboard, Lieutenant. We can use someone with military training. They walked through the base corridors as Kate explained what they were doing. We have about 300 people here now. Most are rescued slaves, but some are volunteers from the outer colonies. Everyone has lost someone to the consortium. Maya saw the base was well organized with separate areas for living quarters, engineering workshops, and weapons storage. How do you supply a place like this? Carefully, Kate answered. We have supporters in the civilian shipping companies and some government officials who help unofficially. Plus, we capture what we need from consortium convoys. They reached a conference room where several other people were waiting. Kate made introductions as they sat down. This is Dr. Lisa Park, our science officer. She was captured while doing research on alien technology. Lisa was a small woman with glasses who looked like she spent most of her time working with computers. I've been studying consortium equipment, she said. Their technology has some interesting weaknesses we can exploit. And this is Sergeant Rick Stone, Kate continued. He handles our demolitions and ground operations. Rick was a big man with scars on his arms and hands. Former Earth defense engineers, he said simply. I know how to blow things up. Jake activated a holographic display in the center of the table. It showed star charts with marked routes between different systems. These are the slave transport paths we've been mapping. Maya, your squad was captured along this route here. Maya studied the display. That matches our last known position. We were doing reconnaissance on reported alien activity when they hit us. Dr. Park leaned forward. What kind of ships attacked you? Fast cruisers with some kind of energy net weapons, Maya replied. They disabled our engines without destroying the ship completely. Like they wanted us alive. That's their standard capture method, Jake said grimly. They use neural stunners to knock out the crew, then board and take prisoners. Very efficient. Kate pointed to several other marked locations on the star chart. We've identified at least 6 major slave routes and 12 smaller collection points. The problem is they keep changing the patterns, Rick spoke up. We need to hit them harder. Make them afraid to operate in human space. Agreed, Kate said. But we need better intelligence first. Maya, what did you observe about their base of operations? Maya described everything she remembered about the auction facility. The layout, the security systems, the types of ships she had seen. Lisa took careful notes and asked detailed questions about the alien technology. The most important thing, Maya concluded, is that they're not expecting organized resistance. Their security was focused on keeping prisoners contained, not fighting off an attack. Jake smiled. That's what I was counting on. But they'll be more careful now after what we did. An alarm started sounding throughout the base. Kate immediately activated a communication panel. Control room report. A voice came through the speakers. Commander, we have incoming ships. At least 6 consortium cruisers heading this way fast. Everyone in the room tensed. Kate stood up quickly. How long until they arrive? 15 minutes at current speed. Jake was already moving toward the door. They must have tracked us somehow. We need to evacuate now. Kate shook her head. We can't abandon the base. Too much equipment and too many people. We fight. Maya looked at the star chart display. How many ships do we have ready for combat? 8 fighters in the Iron Eagle, Rick answered. Against 6 cruisers, that's not good odds. Dr. Park was working frantically at her computer terminal. I'm reading their approach vector. They're coming from the direction of the slave market station. Jake studied the tactical display that showed the approaching enemy ships. They're spread out in a search pattern. Maybe they don't know exactly where we are. The asteroid stealth systems are good but not perfect, Kate said. If they get close enough, they'll detect us. Maya made a decision. I'm going with Jake. I can handle weapon systems. Kate looked at her. You just escaped from slavery. You don't have to fight right away. Yes, I do, Maya replied firmly. These aliens took my freedom and killed my squad. Now it's time to pay them back. Jake nodded with approval. The Iron Eagle is fast enough to stay ahead of their heavy weapons. If we can split their formation, the fighters might have a chance. Dr. Park looked up from her computer. I've been analyzing their ship designs from the battle records. Their main weakness is the power coupling between their weapons and shields. If you can overload their energy grid, they'll be vulnerable. Rick was already loading equipment onto a cart. I'll get demolition charges ready in case they try to board the station. Kate activated the base-wide communication system. All personnel to battle stations. This is not a drill. Fighter pilots to your ships immediately. The next few minutes were controlled chaos as the base prepared for combat. Maya followed Jake back to the Iron Eagle. where they quickly ran through pre-flight checks. "Ever been in space combat before?" Jake asked as he started the engines. "No, but I'm a fast learner," Maya replied as she familiarized herself with the weapons controls. The hangar bay doors opened and the Iron Eagle launched along with 8 human fighters. Through the view screen, Maya could see the consortium ships approaching. They were large and heavily armed with sleek designs that looked fast and dangerous. "Iron Eagle to all fighters," Jake broadcast. "Stay together and follow my lead. We're going to hit their lead ship hard, then break away before they can respond." The human fighters formed up behind the Iron Eagle as they accelerated toward the enemy formation. Maya watched the range indicators counting down as they closed the distance. "Weapons range in 30 seconds, she reported. Jake's hands moved steadily over the flight controls. "Remember what Dr. Park said about their power couplings. Concentrate fire on their engine sections." The first exchange of fire lit up space with energy beams and missile trails. Maya operated the Iron Eagles. Weapons with growing confidence as Jake threw the ship through. Evasive maneuvers that would have been impossible for a larger vessel. Direct hit on cruiser. 2, one of the fighter pilots reported. "Their shields are fluctuating, but the consortium ships were fighting back effectively. 2 human fighters were already damaged and falling behind." Maya realized this battle was far from over. The space battle lasted 40 minutes before the consortium ships finally retreated. 2 of their cruisers were destroyed and another was badly damaged. The human force lost 3 fighters, but Haven Station remained hidden and safe. Maya sat in the Iron Eagle's pilot seat, breathing heavily. Her hands shook slightly from the adrenaline of her first space combat. Jake had let her take the controls during the final attack run, and she had performed better than either of them expected. "Not bad for a beginner," Jake said as they flew back to the asteroid base. "You've got good instincts for this kind of fighting." "It felt different from ground combat," Maya replied. "More like flying and fighting at the same time." They landed in the hangar bay where repair crews were already working on the damaged fighters. Kate met them as they left the ship looking relieved but serious. "Good work out there. But this attack changes everything." In the conference room, the leadership team gathered to discuss what had happened. Dr. Park had been analyzing data from the battle, while Rick worked on casualty reports and damage assessments. "The good news," Kate began, "is that we proved human fighters can hold their own against consortium cruisers when we use the right tactics." Jake nodded. "Hit-and-run attacks using our speed advantage. Just like the old Apache raids my grandfather used to tell me about." Maya looked confused. "Your grandfather knew about Apache raids?" "My family has Apache heritage," Jake explained. "My grandfather served in the military and studied tribal warfare tactics. Many of the same principles work in space combat." Dr. Park activated her computer display. "I've been studying the enemy ship wreckage and I found something important. The consortium isn't just one alien species. It's an alliance of different races working together." The hologram showed technical analysis of the destroyed ships. "Look at these power systems. 3 completely different technologies integrated into one design. They're sharing their best equipment to create superior vessels." Kate leaned forward. "That explains why their ships are so advanced. They're combining technologies from multiple civilizations." Rick spoke up from his seat. "It also means they might not be as unified as they appear. Different species probably have different goals and motivations." Maya studied the technical data. "What about their weaknesses?" "Every alliance has internal conflicts," Dr. Park smiled. "Exactly what I was thinking. I've been monitoring their communications during the battle. They use at least 4 different languages and their coordination wasn't perfect." Jake stood up and began pacing around the room. "So we need to find ways to exploit those divisions. Make them fight each other instead of us." Kate activated another display showing the larger strategic situation. "We also need to expand our operations. 300 people isn't enough to make a real difference against their entire fleet." Maya looked at the star charts showing human colonies and shipping routes. "How many humans are being taken as slaves every month?" "Our best estimate is around 5,000, Kate replied grimly. "From outer colony raids, transport ship attacks, and individual kidnappings." The number hit Maya like a physical blow. 5,000 people every month. That's 60,000 per year. Dr. Park nodded sadly. "The consortium has been operating for at least 5 years, maybe longer. Hundreds of thousands of humans are already in slavery throughout the galaxy." Rick slammed his fist on the table. "Earth Command has to know about this. Why aren't they doing anything?" Jake stopped pacing and looked out the view screen at the stars beyond the asteroid. Because most of the captures happen in frontier space outside official Earth territory, the government can claim it's not their responsibility. Kate brought up personnel files on her display. That's why we have to handle this ourselves. But we need more ships, more people, and better intelligence about consortium operations. Maya had been thinking about the rescued humans from the auction house. What about the people we saved today? Some of them might be willing to join us. I've been talking to them, Kate said. Dr. Carl Weber wants to help with medical services. A few others have useful technical skills, but most are too traumatized to fight right now. Dr. Park looked up from her computer. I have an idea about expanding our intelligence network. During the battle, I was able to tap into consortium communication channels. Their security isn't as good as they think. She activated a new display showing intercepted data streams. If we can place monitoring devices in key locations, we could track their ship movements and predict where they'll strike next. Jake returned to his seat. That would let us position rescue teams in advance. Hit them when they're loaded with prisoners and can't maneuver as well. Maya saw the possibilities immediately. We could also warn colonies about incoming raids. Give people time to evacuate or prepare defenses. Kate was making notes as they talked. This all sounds good, but we need resources to make it happen. More ships, communication equipment, weapons, and trained personnel. Rick leaned back in his chair. I know some people in the military who might be willing to help unofficially. Officers who are frustrated with Earth Command's refusal to act. Dr. Park added, and I have contacts in the scientific community. Researchers who were working on alien technology before the government classified everything. Jake looked at Maya. What about you? Any connections we could use? Maya thought about her military service and the people she had worked with. My old unit had some good people. If they knew what was really happening out here, some of them might volunteer. Kate stood up. Then we have our next mission objectives. Jake and Maya will continue rescue operations to save more humans and capture consortium equipment. Dr. Park will work on the intelligence network. Rick will handle recruitment and training. I'll coordinate everything and work on finding us a larger base of operations. Dr. Park raised her hand. There's one more thing. I've been analyzing the neural collar technology they use on slaves. I think I can develop a way to disable them remotely. Maya remembered the pain when someone tried to remove her collar. That would save a lot of suffering during rescues. Jake smiled. And it might let us free slaves who are already working for their masters. Imagine the chaos if collars started failing throughout consortium space. Kate looked around the room at her team. Then we're all in agreement. We expand operations and hit them harder than they expect. But remember, this is just the beginning. The real war is going to be much longer and more difficult than what we've seen so far. Maya felt a sense of purpose she hadn't experienced since joining the military. For the first time since her capture, she had hope that humanity could fight back effectively against the aliens who were stealing their people. When do we start? She asked. Jake checked his watch. As soon as the Iron Eagle is refueled and rearmed, there's another convoy leaving the slave market station in 18 hours. If we move fast, we can intercept them before they reach their destination. Kate nodded. Do it, and be careful out there. After today's battle, they'll be expecting us. Maya stood up with the others as the meeting ended. She realized that everything had changed since this morning when she was a prisoner waiting to be sold. Now she was part of something bigger than herself, something that could make a real difference. The war for human freedom was just beginning. 3 weeks later, the Iron Eagle drifted silently through the asteroid field near the Vega shipping lanes. Maya had become skilled at operating the ship's advanced sensors while Jake focused on piloting through the dangerous rocks. Contact bearing 27 Mark IV, Maya reported quietly. Large convoy approaching. Jake adjusted their position to get a better view. Through the view screen, they could see 6 massive transport ships surrounded by escort vessels. That's a big one, he murmured. Maybe 2,000 prisoners. Maya studied the sensor readings. 12 escort ships including 4 heavy cruisers. That's more firepower than we've seen before. They had been hitting consortium convoys regularly for the past 3 weeks. Each successful raid rescued more humans and captured valuable equipment. But the aliens were adapting their tactics and using stronger escorts. Jake activated the communication system. Iron Eagle to Haven Station. We have a major convoy in sight, but it's heavily defended. Kate's voice came through the speakers. How heavy? 12 escorts including cruiser-class vessels, Maya answered. Estimated 2,000 prisoners aboard the transports. There was a long pause before Kate replied. That's too dangerous for one ship. Return to base and we'll plan a larger operation. Jake looked at Maya. What do you think? Maya had been studying the convoy formation for several minutes. They're using standard consortium defensive patterns. Escorts in a sphere around the transports with the heaviest ships at the front. Right out of their tactical manual, Jake agreed. No creativity or adaptation to different threats. Maya pointed at the sensor display. But look at this. They're staying in hyperspace lanes to avoid the asteroid fields. That limits their movement options. Jake began to smile as he understood what she was thinking. If we could force them into the asteroids, their big ships would be at a disadvantage. Exactly. The transports are too large to maneuver effectively among the rocks, and the escorts would have to spread out to avoid collisions. Jake called Haven Station again. Kate, change of plans. We're going to try something different. Jake, don't do anything stupid, Kate's voice replied with concern. Too late for that, Jake said as he started the Iron Eagle's engines. Maya has an idea that might work. They moved to intercept the convoy at a point where the hyperspace lane passed close to a dense asteroid cluster. Jake positioned their ship behind a large rock and waited. When they see us, they'll probably try to capture our ship instead of destroying it, Maya said. Humans and advanced technology are too valuable to waste. Jake nodded. So we let them chase us into the asteroids, then turn and fight when they can't use their numbers advantage. The convoy approached their position right on schedule. Maya activated a broad-spectrum signal that would be easy for the aliens to detect. Here we are, she announced. Come and get us. The response was immediate. 4 escort ships broke formation and accelerated toward their position, while the convoy continued on its original course. Just like we hoped, Jake said. They're dividing their forces. He piloted the Iron Eagle out of hiding and began flying toward the asteroid field. The pursuing ships followed exactly as planned. Their larger size and heavier weapons gave them confidence that they could capture one small human vessel. They're closing fast, Maya reported. Range decreasing to weapons distance in 60 seconds. Jake flew into the asteroid cluster at high speed. The pursuing ships had to slow down to avoid collisions with the floating rocks. Now we have the advantage, he said. Maya activated the ship's weapons systems and targeted the nearest escort vessel. The Iron Eagle was much more maneuverable among the asteroids and could attack from unexpected angles. Direct hit on their engine section, she reported as energy beams lanced out from their ship. They're losing power. Jake threw the Iron Eagle through a series of sharp turns around large asteroids. The escort ships tried to follow, but their formations were breaking apart as they struggled to navigate the dangerous field. One of them just collided with an asteroid, Maya announced with satisfaction. That's 2 down. The remaining escorts were more cautious now, but still trying to surround the human ship. Jake used his knowledge of the asteroid field to stay ahead of them while Maya targeted their weapons and engines. This is working better than I expected, Jake said as they disabled another escort vessel, but we need to get back to the convoy before they escape. They flew out of the asteroid field and saw the transport ships had continued toward their destination with the remaining escorts. 8 ships left, Maya counted. Still too many for a direct attack. Jake studied the convoy's new formation. They're bunched up tighter now. Probably afraid of more attacks. Maya had an idea. What if we don't attack the escorts at all? What if we target the transports directly? Jake looked at her with surprise. That's risky. If we damage the transport ships, we could kill the prisoners. Not if we're careful, Maya replied. Dr. Park analyzed the transport designs. The prisoner-holding areas are in the center of each ship. If we target the engines and control systems, we can disable them without harming the people inside. Jake considered the plan. It would work, but we'd need perfect accuracy. One mistake and hundreds of people die. Maya was already programming targeting solutions into the weapons computer. Then we don't make mistakes. They approached the convoy from an unexpected angle using a large asteroid as cover. The escort ships were watching for attacks from the direction of the asteroid field, not from above. Now, Jake said as they cleared the asteroid. Maya fired with precise timing. Energy beams struck the lead transport ship's engine section, causing massive power failures. The ship dropped out of formation and began drifting helplessly. The escort ships immediately moved to protect the remaining transports, but Jake was already positioning for another attack run. Second target locked, Maya announced. They disabled 2 more transport ships before the escorts could respond effectively. The convoy was now scattered and confused with 3 ships carrying thousands of prisoners floating dead in space. Iron Eagle to disabled transports, Jake broadcast on emergency frequencies. Prepare for rescue operations. Help is coming. Maya was monitoring consortium communications. The escorts are calling for reinforcements. We have maybe 20 minutes before more ships arrive. Jake activated his emergency beacon. Then we'd better work fast. The next 20 minutes were controlled chaos as Jake and Maya worked to free prisoners from the disabled transport ships. They used the Iron Eagle's docking systems to connect with each vessel and cut through the security barriers. Hundreds of humans and other aliens flooded onto their ship. Many were injured and all were frightened and confused. Maya organized them into groups while Jake continued piloting between the disabled transports. Last transport cleared, Maya reported. But we're way over capacity and life support is straining. Jake could see consortium reinforcements approaching on the long-range sensors. Time to go. Everyone hold on. The Iron Eagle broke away from the convoy wreckage and accelerated toward the safety of the asteroid field. Behind them, the arriving consortium ships began recovery operations on their disabled vessels. As they reached Haven Station, Jake looked back at their rescued passengers. 800 people, he said with satisfaction. That's our biggest rescue yet. Maya was helping treat injured prisoners in the cargo bay. And we proved that direct attacks on transports can work. The escorts couldn't protect ships that were already disabled. Jake smiled as they entered the station's hangar bay. My grandfather would have approved. Hit your enemy where they're weakest, not where they're strongest. Kate was waiting for them with medical teams and food for the rescued prisoners. Outstanding work, she said. But the consortium is going to respond to this. They can't let us keep hitting their convoys without consequences. Maya looked at the hundreds of people they had saved, former slaves who were now free to fight back against their captors. Then we'd better be ready for them. Jake nodded as he watched the rescued humans being helped off his ship. The war is escalating, but so are we. 2 months after the convoy raid, Maya stood in Haven Station's main briefing room looking at intelligence reports that made her stomach turn. The walls were covered with star charts showing consortium fleet movements, and each red marker represented a massive threat to human space. Operation Harvest, Dr. Park announced to the assembled resistance leaders. That's what they're calling it. The largest slave-gathering mission in consortium history. Jake studied the tactical displays with growing concern. How large are we talking about? Dr. Park activated a holographic projection showing 3 human star systems. 1,500 ships targeting the colonies at New Austin, Terra Verde, and Millfield. Combined population of nearly 2 million people. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the magnitude of what they were facing. Commander Kate Sullivan leaned forward in her chair. When? Intelligence suggests they'll begin the operation in 6 weeks, Dr. Park replied. The fleets are already assembling at staging areas throughout consortium space. Sergeant Rick Stone shook his head. 1,500 ships. We have maybe 50 combat-ready vessels total, including fighters. Maya had been studying the colony defense assessments. What about Earth Defense Forces? Surely they'll respond to an attack this size. Kate's expression was grim. I've been in contact with sympathetic officers in Earth Command. Official policy is still to avoid direct confrontation with the consortium. They claim the outer colonies are outside their area of responsibility. Jake slammed his fist on the table. So they're going to let 2 million people be enslaved because it's politically convenient. Dr. Park brought up additional intelligence data. It gets worse. The consortium isn't just planning to take prisoners. They want to completely depopulate these systems and claim the planets for their own use. Maya felt cold anger building inside her chest. Genocide. They're planning genocide disguised as a slave raid. Rick stood up and began pacing. We have to warn the colonies. Give them time to evacuate or prepare defenses. Kate nodded, already in progress. But 3 systems with 2 million people can't just disappear overnight. Most will have to stay and fight. Jake looked at the fleet strength numbers again. What if we could convince other human settlements to help? Independent traders, civilian shipping companies, even pirates might join us if they understand what's at stake. Maya had an idea. What about the rescued slaves? We've freed over 3,000 people in the past few months. Many of them have military training or useful skills. Dr. Park smiled for the first time during the briefing. I've been working with the rescued prisoners on several projects. Some have knowledge of consortium technology that could help us. She activated another display showing technical specifications. Remember when I said I could disable slave collars remotely? We've actually built working prototypes. Kate leaned forward with interest. How many can you produce? With our current resources, maybe 500 devices. But each one can disable multiple collars within a certain range. Jake saw the tactical possibilities immediately. If we could smuggle those devices into consortium slave camps, we could trigger mass revolts throughout their territory. Maya was thinking about the broader strategic picture. A slave rebellion would force them to divert ships and resources away from Operation Harvest. Buy time for the colonies to prepare. Rick nodded approvingly. Hit them where they don't expect it. Classic guerrilla warfare. Kate made notes as they talked. So we have multiple mission objectives. Warn the threatened colonies, organize additional human forces, trigger slave revolts, and prepare our own fleet for battle. Dr. Park brought up one more piece of intelligence. There's something else. The consortium command structure isn't as unified as we thought. I've been monitoring their communications, and there are definitely tensions between different alien species. Jake looked at the communication intercepts. What kind of tensions? Resource allocation, mostly. Some species think Operation Harvest is too risky. Others want to focus on different targets. The insectoid Zephyrians are pushing hardest for the human colonies, while the crystalline Vorthak prefer industrial worlds. Maya saw the opportunity. If we could make their losses heavy enough, the alliance might start to crack. Kate stood up and activated the station's communication system. All senior staff to the briefing room. We're about to plan the largest operation in Resistance history. Over the next hour, more people joined the meeting. Ship captains rescued slaves with specialized knowledge and volunteers from various human settlements. Maya was impressed by how much the Resistance had grown since her rescue. Captain Ben Harris commanded a converted cargo ship called the Liberty. Bell, I can contact independent traders throughout the frontier. Many have lost ships or crew to consortium raids. Dr. Elena Vasquez was a former Earth defense scientist who had been captured during a research mission. I've been working on improvements to our fighter designs. Human technology combined with captured alien equipment. Former slave Marcus Johnson had been a logistics coordinator before his capture. I know the locations of major slave camps throughout consortium space. Places where our collar disruptors would have maximum impact. Jake looked around the room at the growing resistance force. 6 weeks to prepare for the biggest battle in human history. Can we do it? Kate began assigning missions to different teams. Ben, you handle recruitment among independent forces. Elena, continue working on ship modifications. Marcus, work with Dr. Park on the slave revolt operation. She turned to Jake and Maya. You two will lead our main strike force. Your job is to hit consortium staging areas and disrupt their preparations for Operation Harvest. Maya felt the weight of responsibility, but also a sense of purpose stronger than anything she had experienced in the military. What's our first target? Dr. Park activated a star chart showing consortium territory. The main staging area is here in the Kepler system. At least 300 ships are already assembled there, including the command vessel coordinating the entire operation. Jake smiled grimly. Then that's where we start. Time to show them what happens when they threaten human space. Kate looked around the room at her expanded team. Remember, people, this isn't just about stopping one operation. If we can prove that humans won't go quietly into slavery, we change the entire balance of power in this part of the galaxy. Maya thought about all the humans already in slavery throughout consortium space. Hundreds of thousands of people waiting for someone to give them hope. When do we leave? Jake was already planning flight routes and attack vectors. Tomorrow. The longer we wait, the stronger their defenses become. As the meeting broke up, Maya watched the various teams begin their preparations. Ship captains checking weapons and supplies, scientists working on new technology, former slaves preparing to free their fellow prisoners. Dr. Park approached her as the room emptied. Maya, I want you to have this. She handed over a small device that looked like a military communicator. What is it? A collar disruptor with extended range. If you end up captured again, it will free you and anyone else nearby. But more importantly, it's a symbol. Maya looked at the device. A symbol of what? Dr. Park smiled. That humans don't stay prisoners for long. We adapt, we fight back, and we never give up. Maya clipped the device to her belt next to her other equipment. In 6 weeks, the largest battle in human history would begin. But she was no longer the same person who had stood on that auction block months ago. Now she was part of something bigger than herself, part of humanity's refusal to go quietly into the darkness. The largest space battle in human history began at dawn on a Tuesday in the Kepler system. Maya watched from the Iron Eagle's bridge as 300 consortium ships faced off against 70 human vessels of every size and description. "All ships, this is Commander Sullivan." Kate's voice came through the communication system. "Remember, we're not trying to win a conventional battle. Our job is to delay and disrupt. Keep them here while the colonies prepare their defenses." Jake adjusted the Iron Eagle's position within the human formation. They were leading a squadron of converted civilian ships that had been hastily armed with captured alien weapons. "Maya, are you ready for this?" Maya checked her weapons systems one final time. As ready as anyone can be for impossible odds. The consortium fleet was arranged in perfect geometric formations that demonstrated their technological superiority. Massive dreadnought-class vessels anchored battle groups of cruisers and destroyers. At the center of their formation sat the command ship, a gigantic vessel that coordinated the movements of every other ship in the fleet. Dr. Park's voice came through the tactical channel. "I'm reading massive energy buildups from their main guns. They're preparing to destroy us all at once." Jake smiled grimly. "Then we'd better not be where they expect us to be." He gave the signal, and the human fleet suddenly scattered in all directions. Instead of maintaining formation, they broke apart into dozens of small groups that moved independently through the battle space. The consortium's first massive volley hit empty space, where the human ships had been moments before. Their perfect formations were designed to fight other organized fleets, not swarms of individual vessels attacking from unpredictable angles. "First blood to us," Rick's voice reported from his converted mining ship. "Their targeting systems can't track this many separate targets." Maya targeted the nearest consortium destroyer and fired. The Iron Eagle's hybrid weapons had been modified with human creativity and alien technology, creating combinations the enemy had never seen before. Direct hit on their shield generators. Jake threw their ship through a series of evasive maneuvers that would have been impossible for the larger alien vessels. Around them, the human fleet was demonstrating the same kind of chaotic creativity that had always been humanity's greatest strength. Captain Harris in the Liberty Bell was using his cargo ship's loading systems to launch improvised missiles. Former slave Marcus Johnson commanded a fighter squadron that attacked in coordinated swarms before breaking apart and regrouping elsewhere. "This is working better than I expected," Maya said as she watched a consortium cruiser fall out of formation with damaged engines. But the aliens were adapting their tactics. Instead of trying to destroy all the human ships at once, they began focusing their fire on smaller groups. "We're taking heavy casualties," Kate reported. 6 ships destroyed already." Jake looked at the tactical display. The battle was spreading across millions of kilometers of space as both fleets maneuvered for advantage. "We need to take out their command ship. Without central coordination, their formations will collapse." Maya studied the massive vessel at the center of the consortium fleet. "It's surrounded by at least 50 escort ships. We'd never get close enough." Dr. Park's voice came through the communication system with urgent news. "I'm detecting massive hyperspace signatures. More consortium ships are arriving." Through the viewscreen, they could see additional alien fleets dropping out of hyperspace. Hundreds more ships joining the battle just as the human force was beginning to hold its own. "That's it," Jake said quietly. "We can't fight that many ships." But Maya was studying the new arrivals and noticed something strange. "Jake, look at their formations. The new ships aren't integrating with the original fleet." Jake examined the tactical display more carefully. "You're right. They're maintaining separate formations like they don't trust each other." Dr. Park confirmed what they were seeing. "I'm reading different communication protocols from the new arrivals. These aren't reinforcements. These are ships from different consortium species who don't want to be left out of Operation Harvest." Maya realized what was happening. They're competing with each other. Each species wants to claim the best prizes for themselves. Jake saw the opportunity immediately. If we can increase the chaos, their alliance might start to break down. He activated the squadron communication channel. "All ships, new mission. We're going to make this battle so confusing that the aliens start shooting at each other." Maya began targeting communication relays and command systems instead of weapons and engines. "If we can disrupt their coordination, they won't know who's friend and who's enemy." The human ships changed tactics again. Instead of trying to destroy consortium vessels, They focused on creating maximum confusion. Ships would attack and then retreat through areas where different alien fleets were operating. "It's working," reported Captain Harris. "I just saw 2 consortium cruisers fire on each other by mistake." The battle devolved into chaos as communication breakdowns led to friendly fire incidents between different alien species. The Zephyrian insectoids began fighting with the Vorthak crystalline ships over target priorities. Jake navigated the Iron Eagle through the confusion toward the command ship. "Now's our chance. While they're distracted, we can get close enough to do some real damage." Maya prepared the ship's most powerful weapons for an attack run on the massive command vessel. "What's the plan?" "We're going to board that ship and take out their central command system," Jake replied. "Without it, the entire Operation Harvest fleet will be paralyzed." Maya stared at him. "Board it? That's suicide. There must be thousands of aliens on that ship." Jake's expression was determined. "Maybe. But if we don't stop them here, 2 million humans will be enslaved or killed. Sometimes you have to risk everything for the people you're trying to protect." Maya thought about all the humans still trapped in slavery throughout the galaxy, all the colonies that would be destroyed if Operation Harvest succeeded. "Then we'd better make it count." The Iron Eagle accelerated toward the command ship while the battle raged around them. Alien vessels fired in all directions as the Consortium Alliance began to collapse under the pressure of human unpredictability. 60 seconds to docking," Jake announced as he piloted through the defensive fire. Maya activated Dr. Park's collar disruptor and checked her weapons one final time. "Jake, whatever happens, I want you to know this has been the best fight of my life." Jake smiled as the command ship's hull filled their view screen. "Mine too. Now let's go show these aliens what humans do when you back us into a corner." The Iron Eagle's docking clamps engaged with the alien hull as Maya prepared to cut through their outer barriers. Behind them, the space battle continued with increasing intensity as more alien fleets turned on each other. Maya looked back at Jake one final time. "See you on the other side." She opened the airlock and stepped into the enemy command ship, knowing that the fate of humanity might depend on what happened in the next few minutes. Maya cut through the command ship's hull using an energy torch, while explosions from the space battle shook the massive vessel around her. Emergency lights flashed as she and Jake fought, their way through corridors filled with alien crew members trying to understand why their own fleets were attacking each other. "The central command center should be 12 levels up," Jake said as he fired at a group of insectoid guards. "Dr. Park's intelligence says that's where they coordinate all fleet operations." Maya activated her collar disruptor as they passed holding areas filled with human prisoners. The device worked perfectly, freeing dozens of slaves who immediately joined their assault on the ship's command structure. "This way," shouted a freed prisoner who had been a ship engineer before his capture. "I've been working on their systems for months. I know another route to the command center." They climbed through maintenance shafts and service corridors while the battle outside grew more intense. Through small windows, Maya could see consortium ships destroying each other as their alliance completely collapsed. "The Zephyrians are retreating," reported Dr. Park's voice through their communication system. "Their entire fleet is breaking off from the battle." Jake smiled as they reached the correct level. One species down, several more to go. The command center was a massive room filled with holographic displays showing the entire Operation Harvest fleet. Alien officers from different species worked at control stations that coordinated ship movements across multiple star systems. Maya counted at least 30 aliens in the room, including several wearing the elaborate uniforms of high-ranking commanders. Too many for a direct assault. Jake pulled out the demolition charges that Rick had prepared for this mission. "We don't need to fight them all. We just need to destroy the quantum communication array that links this ship to the rest of the fleet." Maya studied the room's layout and spotted the massive crystalline structure at its center. There. That has to be their main communication system. They waited for the right moment when most of the alien officers were focused on the chaos of the space battle. Then Jake and Maya burst into the command center with their weapons firing. The aliens were caught completely by surprise. Several fell before they could react, while others scrambled for cover behind control consoles. Maya fought her way toward the communication array while Jake held off reinforcements trying to enter the room. "Maya, whatever you're doing, do it fast," Jake shouted as more alien guards arrived. "We're running out of time." Maya reached the quantum communication array and began placing Rick's charges at key structural points. The crystalline structure was beautiful but also clearly fragile. A few well-placed explosions would destroy the entire system. An alien commander that looked like a walking tree tried to stop her, but Maya shot it down without hesitation. Nothing was going to prevent her from completing this mission. "Charges set," she announced. 30 seconds to detonation. Jake was fighting a running battle toward the room's exit as more aliens poured in. "Maya, get out of there now." Maya looked at the timer on the demolition charges. 25 seconds remaining. She could probably make it to safety if she ran immediately. But as she turned to leave, she saw that Jake was pinned down by enemy fire near the doorway. She made her choice in that instant. Instead of running, she turned back and attacked the aliens who were shooting at Jake. Her covering fire allowed him to reach the exit but cost her precious seconds. 15 seconds, Maya. Jake called from the corridor. "Move now." Maya ran toward the exit, but there wasn't enough time. The charges would detonate before she could clear the blast radius. She activated her communication system one final time. "Jake, tell Kate that we did it. Tell everyone that humans don't surrender and we don't give up. Ever." The demolition charges exploded with tremendous force, destroying the quantum communication array and most of the command center. The blast threw Maya against the far wall as systems throughout the ship began failing. Jake fought his way back through the wreckage and found Maya unconscious but still breathing under a pile of debris. "I'm not leaving you behind," he said as he pulled her free and carried her toward the Iron Eagle. The command ship was breaking apart as its control systems failed. Without central coordination, the consortium fleet was completely paralyzed. Ships drifted helplessly while their crews tried to understand what had happened. Jake reached the Iron Eagle just as the ship's hull began to crack. He got Maya into the medical bay and launched their ship away from the dying command vessel. "All human ships, this is the Iron Eagle," he broadcast. "Mission accomplished. The enemy command structure is destroyed." Dr. Park's excited voice came through the speakers. "Jake, the entire consortium fleet is dead in space. Their ships can't coordinate with each other anymore." Kate's voice joined the conversation. "Outstanding work. All ships begin rescue operations. There are thousands of human prisoners on those disabled vessels." Maya regained consciousness 3 hours later in the Iron Eagle's medical bay. Her head was bandaged and her left arm was in a support brace, but she was alive. "Did we do it?" she asked weakly. Jake smiled as he sat beside her bed. "Operation Harvest is finished. The consortium fleet is scattered and their alliance is broken. 3 different alien species are now fighting each other instead of planning to attack human colonies." Maya tried to sit up. "What about the prisoners?" "We've rescued over 10,000 people from the disabled ships. More rescue operations are underway throughout consortium space as slave revolts spread." Dr. Park entered the medical bay with a status report. "The collar disruptors worked better than we hoped. Entire slave camps are rebelling and the consortium doesn't have enough ships left to stop them." Maya felt tears forming in her eyes. "It's really over?" Kate's voice came through the communication system. "Maya, I have someone here who wants to talk to you." A new voice spoke with obvious emotion. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, this is Admiral Patricia Clark, Earth Defense Command. On behalf of the human government, I want to apologize for abandoning our people in frontier space. That mistake will never happen again." Maya was confused. "Admiral Clark? Earth Command is getting involved?" Kate explained. "When news of the battle reached Earth, public opinion forced the government to act. They're sending the entire deep space fleet to help with rescue operations and colony defense." Jake added, "It turns out politicians move very quickly when millions of voters are angry about slavery." Over the following weeks, Maya watched as human space was transformed. Earth Defense Forces established permanent bases in frontier systems. Independent colonies received modern weapons and training. Most importantly, thousands of rescued slaves returned home to rebuild their lives. Maya stood on Haven Station's observation deck, looking out at the fleet of ships that now protected human space. The resistance had grown from 300 people to over 50,000, with new volunteers arriving daily. Jake joined her at the observation window. "What are you thinking about?" "All the people we couldn't save," Maya replied. "The ones who died in slavery before we could reach them." Jake nodded. "I think about them too, but look what we built in their memory." Maya watched as rescue ships returned from another successful mission to liberate alien slave camps. Each ship carried dozens of former prisoners who would never be slaves again. Kate offered me command of the new colonial defense fleet. Maya said. Earth wants someone with resistance experience to lead frontier security. Jake looked at her with interest. Are you going to take it? Maya thought about everything that had happened since the day she escaped from the auction block. I think so, but I want to keep working with you and the others. This war isn't over just because we won one battle. Jake smiled. There are still millions of slaves throughout the galaxy waiting for someone to free them. The consortium is broken, but other alien empires are, watching to see what humans will do next. Maya activated her communication device and called Kate. Commander, this is Maya. I accept the fleet command position, but I have one condition. Kate's voice replied immediately. What's that? I want the Iron Eagle and Captain Morrison assigned to my command structure. Some fights are too important to face alone, Jake laughed. I thought you'd never ask. Maya looked out at the stars that had once seemed so dangerous and hostile. Now they represented opportunity and hope for all the humans who had been scattered throughout the galaxy. Ready for the next mission? She asked. Jake was already heading toward the Iron Eagle's docking bay. Maya. I've been ready since the day you stepped onto that auction platform and decided not to give up. Maya followed him toward their ship. The war for human freedom had begun with one woman's refusal to accept slavery. Now it would continue with thousands of people who understood that some things were worth fighting, for no matter what the odds, the Iron Eagle launched from Haven Station and set course for the frontier where other humans waited for rescue. Behind them, the largest free human fleet in history prepared to follow wherever their mission led. Maya Rodriguez had once been a prisoner waiting to be sold. Now she commanded the forces that would ensure no human would ever face that fate again. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but humanity had proven something important. They would never again be prey.